Thank you to our 4 sponsors for supporting our podcast: Johnny Russell's Art Caterers and Milltown Pies, Alexander Grace Law, Jez and Lisa's Spoonful of Sweets, and SPE Furnishings. Links to their websites are available in the show notes and on our website. Don't forget to subscribe to get all the latest episodes as soon as they're released.
Are you three all going?
Is who?
Are you three all going?
Four. Rusty 5, Raymond Bradley 6, Matt Hope 7, Roger Watson 8, Nigel Brown 9, Ben Heap 10, Paddy Martin 11, Graham Martin, of course, Papa Martin.
Raucous night, room 4, Joe.
Oh, well, can you imagine the bar staff when they see him walk through the door, they'll poop themselves.
Poop themselves, did you just say?
They'll poop themselves.
Through the summer when I've been down there and watching you and Rusty go for all them, all to book us for all the spirits and Chris and nuts. It's comedy gold. Joe, come and help us. We can't fit it all in. Steve's already dropped a box of Becks.
I think I said in the group chat, Jez, but it is my favourite story of when Mark Porter played his card too early. So Stan said, you'd be shot in your cake around for that. And then he did it again the next round. So Stan turned and shot him.
Stood up like that.
I remember Paul Stansfield taking us all to the cleaners at Newmont, and he hadn't a clue what he was doing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Hadn't a clue what he was doing, and just took all the money.
Yeah.
Never been back since.
No, and it was quite a lot, if you remember, Stan, and he just kept having this daft smile on his face, and we were going to Telebank or in Rose Grove to get some more out.
Is that safe in the background?
Say again.
What's on your wall?
Where?
To your left.
The mirror.
What?
I think it was.
It looked like a safe.
Now, what would I? Penniless pensioner on £4 an hour at Lowerhouse Cricket Club. Need a safe for.
The Worsley Cup, maybe?
Yeah.
That's on my window. That's on my windowsill, but it is triple glazed.
The books.
The books, the scorebooks, you need them in a safe because they keep going missing, don't
they? Yeah, they do, yeah.
The diaries?
They're not too far away from actually. I found another one the other day when I was having a tidy out. It's always difficult, isn't it, when the season ends. I'm still physically fit, but I'm mentally exhausted, but I don't want it to end. And when it ends, it's a bit of a relief, but tinged with sadness. I don't know how others feel about it.
Gordon, send Morehouse to save the house. Come on, the house!
I were under the impression we were going, and we'll edit the start in later because we've already talked about stuff that we won't leave in here, haven't we?
Yeah.
Most
Okay.
of it, I thought we were recording.
Yeah, we are recording. But we haven't done any introduction, have we? So we're going to start off with Joe Martin's. Hello, everybody. Sorry I'm late. Which of those is that bad, is it? Hello, everybody. Sorry I'm late.
Joe Martin here from Disneyland. Just with my cousin Mickey and Minnie.
Before when I was playing and then football season had come along, it would never just the same. I was really looking forward to getting rid of cricket season and then starting football. And after the first 2 games of football, just thinking, wish cricket were back and wish it was sunny. But that's maybe because we're old stand. These two young spunkers probably just toss it off and think, oh, well, we can go back to our gaming machines or whatever else they do in their bedrooms on their own.
Well, of course, Joe's cock a hoop because we're not in the Lancashire Cup this in 2022. So Joe's cock a hoop, Joe Martin.
A cock in a hoop.
He's never seen his cock so hooped. Whereas I'm pretty miserable because we won't have the opportunity to take 1,000 spectators to Old Trafford again. But
we can still take them. We just won't be playing.
So be it. So be it. That's assuming it is at Old Trafford. I think that's the pinnacle, isn't it, when it's there? And even though it was rained off, that was a good day. Although I do remember complaining that the free bar had shut and we had to go home, and insisting that the LCB reopen the bar, but it wasn't to be. Fortunately, the club bar was open when we got back. So, and that was another one as well. Walking in there, the place was absolutely jammed. Couldn't believe it. We've got some great, fabulous supporters. It makes it so much worthwhile, doesn't it? When these clubs where two men and a dog watch, I don't know how they drum up enthusiasm to play. When the Lancashire League final was YouTubed, I'm on a Groundsman's Association where Facebook, and there were people there saying, wow, what a crowd. Two men and a dog would watch a cup final down here. And we've got to be grateful for that. We've got to treasure it and cherish it and make sure we don't do anything to risk losing it.
Good point. No, it's a good point. And I think the league exec are, recognising things like that around players' transfers and things like that, and trying to get things a little bit more in order, from what I can gather.
Yeah, it's a changing landscape, really, is the Lancashire League. It's changed a lot, obviously, with a small expansion and then a major expansion. And the old rules are being looked at quite seriously. We don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater and become an open league. But some of the rules that were brought in for the very, very good reasons aren't really 2021 and onwards compliant. A rule change that's gone in. Any one of us could have proposed it, but it has actually finished up with me writing it because we were all in agreement at the rules meeting. The rules meeting is a gathering of 2 or 3 from every club so that we can get some consensus, so that we're not getting rule changes not accepted because opinions are split. We try and come up with a rule that the majority are happy with. And everybody seems to think that 3 years is too long to stop somebody signing for another club. So the proposal's gone in that it's if you're going back to your own club, it's instant. But if you're changing from a Lancashire League club to another, instead of having to wait 3 years, you can now, if this gets passed, it'll be 2 years. So I think that's a positive thing.
What do you think about that, Jez? Given your thoughts on players moving clubs, what that a rule that makes it slightly easier to move clubs? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, if people want to do it and clubs want to accept them, then it does go against the grain for me. I've always been, you play for a club, you stop with a club, but times have changed, Joe. Maybe I should change with them. The test, and again, Stan, I am aware of that transfers working group that's in place. Someone who's swapping clubs. Say in 10 years they've had 5 clubs and they're a good player. They're not moving because they serve better bitter, are they? No,
and hopefully this new panel will spot stuff like that. It's like if you say, for argument's sake, you have a 15 career, you can currently move 5 times in your career. Moving it to 2 years, you could move 7, or arguably 8. Now, nobody's going to do that. But I think the way they're looking at it, and I'm the same as yourself, Jez, loyalty. But it is not. It's no longer a sport or a league situation whereby loyalty is as guaranteed, because we're not one of 14 anymore. We're one of 24, and there are 2 divisions. And if you make a mistake, you've got to leave the league in order to come back to or wait 3 years before you can move. So having made a career mistake, which anybody will be capable of, having made a career mistake, to wait 3 years before you can move again, we feel it is too long. Now, if, for instance, you live in Blackburn, you play for East Lancs, and you want to sign for some club in the extreme east, I don't mean Vladivostok, but you know what I mean. Questions will be asked. Questions will be asked. If you're a regular in a League One side and want to move to a League Two side, questions will be asked. And it's quite clear from recent history that it's very, very unlikely, if not impossible, that we can prove payment of players. But there's nothing to stop the panel recommending to the league committee, which is everybody from the clubs, that this potential transfer stinks for the following reason. He doesn't live near the club. He doesn't know anybody at the club. He's no link with the club. He's dropping down a division or moving 40 miles to play. I suspect that the vast majority of the reps will turn around and say that transfer is not going to get approved.
Talk us through the process then of a player moving clubs. And you mentioned the panel there and the reps having a say. How does it actually work then if a club propose the signature of a player? How does it work?
So for argument's sake, Club A submits either a registration form or a transfer form. It comes into the secretary or the registration secretary. It's copied into John Swanee, who is the relevant member of the executive. He forwards it to the panel, and we either say accepted or we ask questions. And the questions, the obvious one is, why this club? No clear link to this club. Why? Or last year, you played in an open league. You're now moving to a club to which you have no link. Why? And either this will be done remotely or people will be brought in to be interviewed. Obviously, if a member of the panel has a vested interest, they won't sit on it. The league legal rep is also on the panel. And if we have suspicions, the transfer or registration will be refused and it will be put before the committee with the recommendations of the panel, and the committee, which is all the reps, will then either say yay or nay. There are potential dangers with it, but at the end of the day, 24 or 23 or 22, depending who has to sit out, 23 clubs will vote on it. And on the plus side, we preserve the sanctity of the competition and make it more difficult for paid players to come into the league or for clubs to pay players. On the negative side, we may lose a good player to another league, but I think the former is more important. And I think all the reps think this, with one or two exceptions. The former is more important than the latter. We'd rather lose a good player to another league than see somebody coming in paid. Because if we allow paid players, the wealthiest clubs will dominate the league. You may as well forget your junior section, because you will either bring players through and have to pay them, or bring players through and lose them. And those clubs with little income, and there are a few, quite a few, and we're by no, Lowerhouse Cricket Club by no means amongst the upper echelon of financially well-off clubs. We're probably about halfway. Some clubs have £350,000 bar turnovers. A lot are in the 175s. Those clubs may well be sorely tempted to pay players in order to compete because they know others are doing it. And before you know it, we're an open league. The wealthy prosper. The less wealthy are forever marooned in Division 2 unless they get a sugar daddy who puts his hand in his pocket. And the danger then is you become like the smaller football, semi-professional football leagues where the manager leaves and 7 players leave, or the captain leaves and takes 5 mates. So therefore your spectator, and we'll personalise this, your Lowerhouse spectator is watching his next door neighbour, the guy that he grew up with, the bloke he works with at the factory or the office, his nephew. They're not watching them anymore. They're watching 6 pot hunters. And we are one of the very few leagues that have spectators, some more than others, but we are still a spectator-based league. And I don't think if we do anything to jeopardise that, then we are foolish.
Yeah, you're right, Stan, what you said at the outset. It's a massive move by the league. I think it should be applauded. I'm sure there will be some issues and problems, and it can be, you can be re-looked at every 12 months, I guess, of how it's going to manage it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting in getting the feelings of the other clubs. People need to stand up and be involved and give the the reasons for or reasons against. It can't be a bad thing at all. It cannot be a bad thing. So let's see. Stan, is there anything else from the league exec? Or I know you went to the meeting the other night. Is there anything else that you could share with the listeners of the podcast as far as changes or different any messages?
Well, we will become a Premier League. We will get Premier League status.
When is that likely, Stan?
That's guaranteed. I think that's probably likely for the start of next season. JW want to continue sponsoring us.
Brilliant. That's good.
We've got to pay heed to the fact that Brewers have had a miserable 18 months, so the money won't be the same. But they've been very, very good for the Financial League of JW, at least. As sold at Lowerhouse Cricket Club, of course. Very good for the league.
Yeah, and I must say it's a very nice pint of Manchester Pale Ale that they serve at the Lowerhouse Cricket Club. And now it should be 3p a pint off, I think, from what the budget said. But
I haven't seen the budget. Yes, that's interesting. Does that mean we can drink more cheaper?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, saving up for a Tumble Dryer next year.
Well, we'll give it our best shot.
Yeah.
Except for Joe Martin, of course, who doesn't drink.
Other than lemonade or Ribena.
I don't think he drinks that.
No. Stan, thanks very much for that update around the Lancashire League. And again, the Premier League, I don't know what you think, Joe Martin, of being the younger statesman here. It shouldn't affect or influence or change a great deal with feeding into, county cricket for junior players. That seems to be a bit of a bizarre situation, how that works. But I don't think whether we're a Premier League or we're not, that would change anything. When we get the lads of 12, 13-year-olds who are going towards county, it shouldn't affect anything at all, do you think, Joe?
I don't think so. It seems, I might be being a bit cynical, I guess. But it just seems like it's Premier League in name. We're already a Premier League, right?
Yeah, I'd agree with that, Joe.
We're already one of the best leagues.
Yeah.
No, so
it's just getting better, yeah.
I'll be honest, I don't like the idea of having like pyramids and stuff like that.
No.
I'd go to Egypt if I wanted that.
You don't like change, do you? Well, that brings us on
I think it's about heritage, Jez.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose the heritage of the league. The fact that it's got such a good history is one of the selling points, I think.
Yeah.
And if you move away from that, whilst it's still in the history books, I think the lineage isn't quite the same.
Yeah, I agree with you, but you can't get away from the fact that the addition of these other clubs that have come in has just been everything. It is positive all the way through. I don't think that's changed a great deal.
Certainly, but I think the kind of how local the teams are. Crompton's probably the furthest away from us anyway, at about 40 minutes, I guess. So therefore, I think that I think it's been good. I think it's been good to a certain extent.
Yeah, but don't push it. We don't need to push it any further. And Stan's right. Amateurs who are working can't be travelling to Carnforth and beyond, or real to South Manchester when it's classed as as Lancashire. So, no, I think that's great, Stan. Thanks very much for that update. As far as we can speak to Joe about this. The Lancashire Cup, Lowerhouse are not in it next year. Is that right?
Yeah, thank God. Yeah, fantastic. Absolute sham of a competition.
I think that's
disgraceful
a bit
attitude.
Joe.
Disgraceful attitude.
I can't help it. It's
I just say that
no interest.
Joe Martin's views are not necessarily those of the rest of the club, apart from his brother.
And the players, just for the record.
I don't think you can describe the competition in those terms, Joe. I appreciate that it's not been perfect, but the day out it provides, and the fact that the Lancashire League clubs can point to the successes that they've had, thus demonstrating that they are a Premier League, albeit not in name yet. There are a lot of positives to it, Joe. I accept that there's more cricket perhaps than people really want, but that's the price of success, Joe.
Well, not necessarily, because in the leagues that we have, I put a greater onus on winning the league or a Worsley Cup.
But I do agree with
I still
Stan
play.
sometimes.
I don't miss any games.
Yeah, no, you do.
I try my best, although it might not see me.
But then I cast my mind back when we used to play in that Intertoto.
Exactly.
On some weekends we were playing when the 2020 kicked off, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and it is a toil. But anyway, that's between the players who are amateurs who would struggle with that. We have to big enough squads to play two sides, but the spectators do love it. So let's see how we go from there. Stan, do we have our league for our 2020? Who's in our group this year?
Yes, we do, Jez. If you just bear with me, I'm just trying to revitalise my spirits after Joe's doom and gloom. The only thing I can negativity, cynicism. The only thing I can say, Joe, is that we are satisfied that you do try your best in these competitions that you detest. Otherwise, of course, you wouldn't be picked.
So who's in our group?
Well, now then, Jez, that's a good one, that. Clitheroe, us, I think, Enfield, Great Harwood, Church,
and East Lancs.
Yeah, so it's slight changes from last year.
Yeah.
It's a tough league. It's a tough group.
It's a tougher group than the other group. I would grant you that. But it's all drawn out in a fair fashion. Yeah. And it's a system that we all agree to. Just in terms of the T20, I must admit I'm not a great fan of international or county T20, but I absolutely love League T20. And to see on a lovely night 800 to 1,000 people on the cricket club is just fabulous. It's fabulous.
Yeah. I agree.
Well, I tend to look at the smiling faces of the spectators and Keith as he's counting money.
He's smiling.
Then you're miserable fizzing.
So, as far as the Worsley Cup this year, am I right in thinking Rottenstall at home?
Rotten stall at home, and now I don't think I'm telling tales out of school, but there was a quirk of the alphabet in the draw, because as they were taking the bag of balls around, incidentally, Tony Woodworth dropped one on the floor. It shot under everybody's chairs. We're allowed to get up, making sure we didn't stand on it.
Hang on, so sorry, Tony dropped a ball.
Tony, yeah, not the first one he's dropped either.
Well, I was just thinking that Hereford 1980.
If you remember the Hereford game, some cruel wag did point that out in the meeting. Wasn't me. No. Alan Wilkinson from Enfield, who's a big Burnley fan. So the ball, the table tennis ball shoots under the chairs. We all have to stand up as though a mouse had run amok. And be careful that we didn't stand and squash the ball. So out comes Littleborough. The first round are buys. Sorry, the first 8 balls are buys.
Yeah.
15, Littleborough. So I think, right, we're alphabetically after Littleborough. So I'm shouting, 16, Tony, 16, let's have a buy. So I think it was Alan Wilkinson again who pulls out the ball. Tony says 16. Duncan announces Middleton. Said, you what? Middleton. I can only read it, Stan, as it's written in front of me. I thought, bloody, they'll do anything to deprive Lowerhouse of a buy, but even by rearranging the alphabet. Exec, I'm only kidding, you know that. We had a good laugh about it. But I just thought, you can't make this up.
Yeah, we were probably 15 So we've got Rottenstall at home, which we've not played against Rottenstall for a couple of years. That'd be good to see. You know, it's one thing with. It'll
be great to re-engage with the likes of Kez and I see Vinny at league meetings. What a character he is! Fabulous chap. Done a great job at Rottenstall. It'll be great to see him at the house.
Definitely.
I do remember a Bay-Cup supporter telling me that he was gutted when they went to 2 divisions because he liked playing against Lowerhouse, and he said for a few years we may well never meet except in the cup. So it's good. That's good.
Yeah, no, I agree. It is a small price to pay, but for us retired players, I do think you do miss those old grounds that you used to go to a little bit. But so anyway, Stan. So we've moved on from what's happening with the news for next year, from the league meetings, etc. We were just chatting earlier. I think it's worth a little discussion now about our feelings as a current player, a player that's retired quite recently, than me and you, about how you're coping with the season finish, the way the season's finished, the work you did on the ground, how committed you were, how busy you were, how you managing when it gets to September and then the end of September and into October.
Well, one of the troubles is, the square goes to bed. Great help from people, especially Dave Waddington, and of course others. The square gets put to bed, and then ideally I'd like to tackle the outfield in a similar but perhaps less intensive fashion, and unfortunately the bad weather comes. So you can't get on the outfield. I've managed to cut the square once since it was renovated. I've cut the outfield twice since the season finished. I'd hopefully like to get another cut in before December. But we'll just have to see. There's plenty of work to be done after you've got the square to bed. Then you're not far off the bonfire wood coming.
Yeah, exactly. But how do you? You've every Saturday, Sunday, and probably most evenings with the junior cricket. You're down there early. Does it affect you at all? That all of a sudden it all changed and you're not tied down to those times mentally or physically?
It does, and as I say, mentally, it's a big sort of relief. But towards the end, probably from August onwards, I find myself making mistakes. Normally, manage to rectify them before they become a catastrophe. And Joel Beneducci's witnessed 1 or 2 mistakes with putting teams in the press. And you find yourself, you're so mentally, your head's so full that you're reading stuff and it's simply not sinking in, or you're not even seeing it. So I am grateful for an end of season. I love my football. On the turf, I'm watching Jeff Stelling with all the goals going in, seeing how my investments at William Hill are doing.
Yeah.
I love all of that, and we are already coaching the JPP players on Mondays. So less busy, but glad of it.
Yeah, but glad of it. It's just a
I'm
few
honest.
weeks.
A lot
What about?
of admin to do as well, Jez. I save loads of things till the end of the season or a rainy day, and spend hours at the computer rectifying stuff, admin, updating stuff, etc.
Yeah. It's funny you should say that. Your name was brought up this week, Stan. Matt Stanley's over in Spain, and he sent me and Nicky some messages about it's raining very heavily. If you know around the Green Chile, where that big open area is at the top of the strip. Can you picture it, Stan?
I missed the first bit. The Green Chile.
Yeah, Matt Stanley's in Spain.
Yeah.
Over at Mil Palmeiras, and he was in the Green Chile, and he was absolutely tipping it down, and that square at the front were getting flooded.
Yeah.
And he sent us a message saying, "Crikey, it's proper raining here." And Nicky commented. He said, "That is so funny. That is the exact same location where Stan tripped up after he'd been on the beach all day in his trunks, sorting out the averages for the under-13s, the under-15s, under-17s." So Nicky was saying you'd take the averages in your little books onto the beach in Spain to get them all clear and sorted. Is that true?
It is true, and I remember falling with the rucksack with all this stuff in on my back. I remember tripping up, and initially a bit turtle-like. I couldn't get up. Just going out to that square. Imagine going to Mill Palmeiras and it absolutely hammers it down. Poor old Stanley. And
I think it was only for an evening. I think he's all right now.
He won't find a rain out to fit that box, will he?
No, he won't. No, definitely not. But anyway, Dukes, how do you feel at the end of the season now? You haven't played for. I know you're still doing a little bit with the seconds, and you're helping out. You're always down with the first team and in helping out with Ben and things. How do you feel when it gets to the end of September?
Quite relieved now, Jez. I have to be honest.
Yeah,
it's not the playing. It's not the playing. It's selection stuff, and the people think, there's not much to it, but it does add up. And God, I only do 2 teams. Got to help Stan, who's got to do however many. But it is a pretty, all week of a job sometimes when you've got decisions to make, and some are more stressful than others. So when it gets to the end of the season now, I actually do take a deep breath, and it is relief, really.
Have a nice relax. Joe Martin, what about you? Now you're playing, you probably don't give a stuff because you don't want to play.
I know, I love playing. Jez. I think it's reasonably well documented. I've played a lot of games in the past 10 years. 10 years.
Yeah.
It is a relief. We play a lot of cricket, and it's really tough cricket these past few years. But I love playing, so I do miss it, and everything's
I appreciate that.
Joe, is there any truth in the rumour that at the end of the season, when you can't play real cricket, you recreate the LCF competition with your Subbuteo cricket? Is there any truth in that? Can I just mention as well, Jez, that
oh, Stan, go on.
Joe's help, in fact, as chairman of selectors, has been a massive help from me. Yeah. And the beauty of our club, others will be vomiting now, but the beauty of our club is that more and more people are wanting to get involved. And I feel as chairman I ought to have an overview, but Joe doing what he does, other people doing stuff, and you can rely on them. It's a marvellous help. And I'll say this to any Lowerhouse player or parent or junior listening to this podcast. The amount of thought, hours, discussion, contemplation, soul-searching, heart-searching that goes in to the selection of each and every team, you will be astonished. You will be absolutely astonished. And I'd like to think that we get it right most of the time.
Brilliant. I really appreciate you saying that, Stan, because we've had a few of these podcasts, and people have come on, and you know, there's some not very much negativity, but it is frustrating at times. And just douches on most podcasts and just gets on with his work. But I really appreciate that, and the captains, the way certainly the senior captains, what they do, the way the thirds and the fourths, we do appear to be in a very, very healthy situation. I mean, that's probably a good time, Stan, to bring in. We've talked quite a lot about the end of the season. We had fortnightly podcasts on the build up to the Worsley Cup final, and then towards the end of the season, which went down really well. The listening figures were sky high. So thanks everyone for listening to those podcasts. We've got Stan on here primarily to talk through the junior sections and then the build up to these juniors coming into the fourths and the thirds. I know we give you a little bit of notice, Stan, and you could talk forever about it. You're that passionate. Can you give us a resume of how you feel the season's gone, from the really young ones right up to the players who are getting into the fourths and thirds and pushing the real senior cricket, please? Yeah,
I'm happy to, Jez. With 12 junior sides this year, sometimes it's been 14, but we've had 12 to 14 for some years now. And I just had a look back at the last 20 years, which is when I started to run the juniors. In 2001, we had 3 teams. In 2006, we went up to 6 teams. In 2008, we went up to the 10, 12, 14 region. The most, we don't measure success in trophies with the juniors, but let's make no mistake about this. We don't play to lose. We play to develop. We're in a fortunate situation where more or less whatever side we turn out can compete. And as I say, we do play to win, but we play to develop. And the highest form of development, of course, is your first 11. Now, this season, Tommy Hawk-Robinson, Henry Cotton, Joel Sharp, the latter two are under 16. Tommy Hawk-Robinson was an under 15. Have played first 11 cricket.
Yeah.
So that's a massive plus, because they haven't played first 11 cricket on a hunch. They've played first 11 cricket on merit.
Yeah.
In other words, they're the next cab off the rank. If there's a 25-year-old in the second 11 doing better than they are, then that 25-year-old will play, or 35-year-old will play. So they're in on merit. High hopes for those 3. Yeah. Behind those 3, there are obviously lads in the second 11 who are progressing. You've obviously got your second 11 regulars. You've got your old stagers as well, if Joe Benedict doesn't mind me referring to him as that. And the second 11 have been a massive success this season. COVID last year bought us a little bit of time, I think, but we were promoted in 2019. 2020. We play a season of sorts. And this season, I'll be perfectly honest, it was more than a fleeting thought that we may struggle to stay up, because the level of competition now with 2 divisions is sky high. High. As exemplified perhaps by the first 11, whereby 2 of the 3 that came up, the 2 that came up in 2019, one's gone straight back down and one's escaped by the skin of the teeth. And it's similar in the second 11. So to finish 5th was absolutely outstanding. And all credit to Matt Hope, who runs a tight ship. The stuff that the kids are learning off Matt on the field is worth its weight in gold. They're getting experience, they're getting know-how, they're getting how to bowl, they're getting how to bat. They're getting everything, and it's fabulous. So we're very, very pleased with that. Moving down to the thirds, this last year, the third 11 was a sort of 3 divisions, but geographically selected. So you'd 3 pots, East, West, Central, and teams were drawn out of each pot. So if you were in the East, you didn't go to the West more than twice, and vice versa.
Right.
Next year, it's a meritocracy. So Division 1 of the third 11 will have the best teams, Division 2 will have the next best teams, and Division 3 will obviously have what's left.
Right, okay.
Our third 11 will be in Division 2.
Yeah.
Our fourth 11 will be in Division 3. Now, that suits us fine. Our third 11 is made up of the players, or last year was made up of the players that can't get in the seconds.
Yeah.
Because the fourth was entirely developmental.
Yeah.
Mostly under 16s, 15s, 14s, 13s, entirely developmental under Phil Metcalf, who did a fabulous job again, was able to play as the season wore on, having got over injury, and that made a massive difference. In terms of the rest of the juniors, all our A teams are in Division 1. The B teams are in Division 2, the C teams are in Division 3 by and large. And there's an under 13s full. The under 9s will always, although they did get to the cup final, played magnificently, but we wear pads, gloves and helmets. A lot of the other clubs don't. It's their choice, but that allows them to run quick singles for fun. And I think it makes hitting easier when you're not burdened by pads. But we believe it's successful in that our under 11s this year, perhaps an exception, but our under 11s by and large are always in the top 2. And as you go higher up in the age groups, like the under 13s this year, the under 13s full were third. The pairs were champions. Pairs 2 were champions. The real stars, though, of the show, with nobody below 5th actually, most were third. The real stars were the under 15s, who not only won the Lancashire League Cup, so they also became the All Lancashire champions, and would have got to the northern finals, but for a disappointing performance against Yorkshire in the sort of playoff. So the under 15s, so the 13s. A third 11 aside, champs at the other 2. The 15s are champs. So they're the next 4th 11 cricketers, or they're all in the 4th. And some are in the 2nd. So the fact that they're doing so well and getting into 3rds and 4ths makes me very happy.
Yeah,
now,
that's outstanding.
Obviously, a long way to go. You can be an outstanding under 15 and never get beyond the third 11. That largely depends on the individual in terms of their desire to learn, the way they quickly pick up experience. Some don't learn, some don't learn from experience. So there's no guarantees. But with some exciting players, but when the under 9s got to the cup final, they'd scores, as you know, they get 200 start. They'd scores of 267 for none, for example. I mean, not to lose a wicket at under 9s is something else. We're not on our own, Jez. Clitheroe are a superb junior setup. And Great Harwood have joined, I would say, the upper echelons, if I dare put us in that, the upper echelons of junior cricket. They've had a wonderful season, got some great players. There's a lot of good work going on in the Junior League. Obviously, as chairman, I do see a lot of it, as chairman of the Junior League. And there are some managers, coaches, clubs doing wonderful things. There's always a struggling team at a club. There's always a club that's struggling for a year or two. But everybody is in it for the right reasons. And there's a lot of room for optimism, both at Lowerhouse and indeed throughout the league.
That is fantastic, Stan, around the other clubs as well. I know all we're interested in is Lowerhouse doing well and getting our juniors through, but it's so good to hear, because I think it's fair to say in your tenure, you've seen some, quite, shocking scenes and tales from clubs that have really had no junior section whatsoever. Have we gone completely away from that, or are there still some clubs that really don't have a junior section of any note, without naming names.
No, there's nobody in such a powerless position that they haven't got any juniors. There are some who are really, really struggling.
Yeah.
But I know that they have people in place at the club who are determined to turn that round.
Yeah, good.
The biggest difficulty, I think, for any club is continuity.
Yeah.
Continuity. Yeah. It's all very well having a parent run a team until the kid gets too old and then the parent drops off. You need more continuity than that. You need more people buying into it.
Brilliant. Can you touch on the girls' cricket, how that's going? Libby's obviously doing fantastically well in the Lancashire setup, playing in our seconds and our thirds, at a young age, and seems to be well recognised at senior cricket at Lancs. How is the girls' cricket looking at the club and some of the young lasses coming through?
Girls cricket is very strong and it's getting stronger. The England team with the likes of Alex Hartley and Kate Cross and the Lancashire team, those are two we particularly know. They are fabulous role models. Right. You've mentioned Libby with Eliza Cotton. In an age group or 3 below Libby, and with plenty of others. I won't name all of them, but we do have a good record at the club of producing county girls. So the girls have a massive opportunity to follow in the footsteps. Good. We mentioned Kate and Alex, a massive opportunity to follow in their footsteps.
Brilliant.
Providing carry on.
Yeah, exactly. Stan, I really appreciate that. It's a good overview, and a lot of the spectators and the fans who watch senior cricket will be, I'm sure, listening with interest at how that goes and looking towards next year of maybe looking and supporting. There's always games on down at the club if people want to come down and watch midweek, etc. So we'll keep that going. That's brilliant. Thanks, Stan. Joe Martin, you have been involved quite heavily in the juniors and the all-stars and everything else. Is there anything you want to add to what Stan's mentioned?
So I think that the other programme that we should mention at the club is the APP, which is the Advanced Performance Programme, which is what we see as the best young cricketers at the club, given a chance to have elite coaching. So they get that from lots of different people, specialists from all over the country, not just from the county. And some of those players I have really high hopes for next year on their displays this year. So the likes of Henry Cotton, who did fantastically well in the T20, and I'm sure will play a really important part in the first team next year, I would say. The same for Tommy Robinson, who opened the bowling in the first team last year, and Joel Sharp, who played the last couple of games as well. I think if we can find the opportunity for them to play and give them an opportunity and actually give them something to do, I think that is that's the next step. And those three players I've picked out because they played first team last year.
There's a lot more underneath them.
Sure, but I think that they are. I'm very excited, especially because one of them is a left-arm spinner.
Yeah, brilliant. That's great. Dooch, it seems like your job's going to be made easier as you go on with all these budding stars come through. What's your thoughts on that?
More difficult, Jez. More difficult. There's only so many slots in teams.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's a good problem to have, isn't it? So.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and the second team gets stronger because it's always, as you find over the last couple of years, and with Matt doing it, the first team, someone cries off whether they're injured or anything, and it's normally when you've got a strong setup like we have, it's the second team that suffer more than the first team because the first team are getting a decent player or two decent players to go in, and the seconds are maybe getting more of the juniors coming in, and you've highlighted that before, Duke, so that does become a problem for the seconds.
It just makes it really difficult for the captain, and I know we talked about Matt before, but if if you're trying to think ahead to the weekend and then Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, you lose your best player because someone's cried off the first team. It's incredibly difficult. So that we're lucky that we don't have a ton of cry-offs. We have a reasonably committed bunch, but you're always going to get some, even injuries and things that are unavoidable. So it makes it even more impressive what Matt's done. I have to say.
Yeah, brilliant. Stan, can I just say, and I know you don't like this sort of praise and everything. It is appreciate what you do down the club. I know you heap praise on the others who help you, which is commendable, and we know that all goes on. But you run this almost single-handedly. You control it. You're sat in your car in your office doing the different stats and everything. So, from us as a house cast and the rest of the club, a real heartfelt thanks for continuing to do that, and long may it continue. So thanks ever so much, Stan, for what you do and your contribution tonight. We really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for that, Jez. And you've mentioned it yourself. I do have a lot of help. I have some fantastic, willing coaches. And of course, people help me on the ground. It's difficult not to get to sort of ebullient about it, but the club's in safe hands as long as we've got people, albeit, under my auspices, if you will, if that doesn't sound too pompous, with some people willing to pitch in and help. It's fabulous. Brilliant. Absolutely fabulous. Brilliant. And makes it all worthwhile.
Of course it does. Of course it does. For us all, whether it's a Worsley Cup final or the under-9s, winning on a Wednesday night when the parents are overjoyed, it's so good for the community and for the club and the history of the club. Whilst I move on to that, we can have a roundup at the end. I'd just like to mention to the listeners around the Lowerhouse draw, as we call it now. It's been going again. Stan instigated this. Myself and Stan set it up. It's about 21 years ago now, and it basically is a draw that raises valuable funds, which goes towards the junior section, towards the club as a whole. Raises, there's about 40% of the income goes out in prizes, so it is a valuable asset to keep the club running. We're going to try and draw it on this program now live. We've not done this before. I'm having some text messages from Spain telling me I'm not saying who it is, but it's the MD, and he's threatening me that he hasn't won for months and months. So he's threatening that we have to win. I'll go through the draw now. Joe Martin's going to help me with it. For people who are not in it, it really is easy to join. Send a message to myself, go on Twitter. My number and my email addresses are all over the website. If anyone wants to join, it's £5 a month, preferably by standing order. And the prizes each month are £300 a month, split into 4 categories. And then every December and July, we have bumper draws. So if anyone wants to join, please get in touch. It's a good bit of fun. And as I said, it does raise valuable money for the club. Right, Joe Martin, we have 177 numbers in, of which we have about 20 or 30 which are free. So
right. Okay.
I can assure everyone this is legitimate. If Stan's number comes out, or my number, or Joe Beneducci's, then we might have to donate it back. But I promise you, this is as legitimate as it can get. I will go through. Joe Martin's got a random generator. Is that right on your phone, Joe?
That's 100% correct.
Right, so it's 1 to 177. Just confirm that.
That is 1 to 177. Yeah.
Brilliant. Right, so the first prize in the October Lowerhouse draw is for £100, and the number is
91.
Number 91. As we all hold breath, it's Eric Kerr. Bless him. Eric Kerr, a legendary footballer. He used to kick lumps out to me, and I'm sure he did with you standing too. A strong centre forward, that lad.
A great player, a great club man, and it's just a pity that this isn't in the summer, Jess, because that will go straight back over the bar.
yeah. Well, we'll invite him on the Christmas drink then on the 27th. So
Christmas drink.
Yeah, brilliant. That's a good winner, and it's not. At least it's not. That's not going to be look like it's fiddled. The next prize is for £80, Joe. If you generate another random number,
159.
And 159 is free. No one's got 159, so a listener out there, it could have been you if you'd have joined earlier. But never mind, you can join next time. So we need to draw again for £80, please.
93.
93. It's only 2 away. Yeah. It's Pete Atherton, another one that would probably put it back behind the bar.
At least it's going to people that we know spend money at the club.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is worth noting there. I'm not sure if it is that number. It is worth noting there, Stan, that when Clifford, the stalwart of the club, who's been there for all those years, passed away a couple of years ago. Pete took his dad's number on, and I think that was his dad's number. So that's fantastic for Peter. £70 is the third prize, Joe. If you can generate another number, please.
Number 18.
Number 18 is a lad called Roger Plested. Roger Plested joined right at the outset, Stan. I don't know if you remember this.
Yes.
He worked with Nicky at Chantel or somewhere like that.
Like Alan Edico.
Do you have little tidbits about everybody who's in the draw, Jez? Do you know a little bio about everyone?
Right, fourth and final prize, Joe. One more random number for £50, please.
Shake them up, Joe.
Number 71.
Number 71 is Mark Porter. That's another popular winner. He comes down watching a lot. His dad's been involved for a number of years, for umpteen years, and Mark follows us everywhere. So that's brilliant. So we've got £900 to Eric Kerr, £80 to Pete Atherton, £70 to Roger Plested, and £50 to Mark Porter. Joe Martin, thanks very much for doing that.
No problem.
And please, anyone who's listening, don't hesitate to give us a shout. Any of us, get in touch with anyone. We can advise you to set it up. So thanks for sorting that, Joe. So that concludes the probably last end of season podcast. Thanks very much to our guests, Stan. Thanks very much to Joe Martin and Dooch. We have got a number of quite iconic well-known lined up that we're going to try and get through in the winter. We'll not name any names at the moment, but we really want to try and get some of our ex-pros on, and maybe one or two celebrities. So, Dooch, is there anything you want to add before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I wanted to mention the Christmas drink, which is booked for Monday, the 27th of December. Club will be open from dinner time-ish. Come down, have a pint. There's usually a game of cards, a game of dominoes, footy on the telly. Yeah. And it's quite a jovial day. It's one of my favourites. But I just thought I'd ask you and Stan, because obviously you're significantly older than me, if you've got any... first of all, can you tell us how it originated? Probably not, because it's probably been going far longer than you two. But if you've got any early memories of the Christmas drink.
I think, Jez, didn't you start this?
Well, I don't know about you. Well, exactly what happened was Roger Bromley, who was, a fearsome drinker at his time, liked to socialise, and I would have been about probably 18 or so. And Roger said, "I think we should meet up at Christmas." So Roger Bromley started it, but we didn't want to go down to the club because basically the ale were crap. We had to serve ourselves, and it was always freezing cold, so we'd have to hide in that little cubbyhole in the corner to keep warm. So we went to the Williams. Can you remember that, Stan? We did it for the first 2 or 3 years. Went to the General Williams on Manchester Road, and 4 or 5 players would go out and stop out. Stan would be there. Roger, Bush at that time probably wasn't playing for us, but he would always turn up. Lofty would turn up, but then go quite quickly. Phil Astin would come and people like that. And then we go up to the Bull and Butcher and just do similar to what you're doing now. And then I think we decided that it seemed daft when it got to like 10 and 12 people turning up. We might as well put some money into the club. So that's where we ended up going down to the club and then serving behind the bar and trying to keep warm. So that was how it all started. Stan, I don't know if you can remember that.
Yeah, that's my recollection of it, Jez. Yeah, and how comfortable are we now compared to how we used to be? Stuffing bar towels in cracks in the shutters to keep the draft out. Yeah.
So it probably this year is the 40th anniversary, I would guess, around that.
Really?
If I'd have been 17 or 18, 17 would be the 40th anniversary this year. So we can call it that anyway. But I mean, some of the stories that have gone on there, I know we laugh and joke about them, but not just the players, the guests that come down and the tricks and the daft. We've had, we're playing dominoes or playing cards, and it's all good fun, and it starts off good fun. But then when more drink goes down and the stakes go up, there's been a few showdowns really as to who wins. One of my funniest stories was the lad John Elm, who was Matt's really good friend, and he came down. He'd been playing football all winter and broke his leg, and it was really heavy snow. And Matt convinced him that there was a competition for who could run round the outfield the quickest with a broken leg. Someone did it like 5 years previously in the snow, so they had Elmy running outfield, and he collapsed at the other side of the field, and we had to go and get him and carry him back. So that was Elmy. That was a funny story.
Wonderful.
I know it was. It was all good times. But we've, like you said, we've had some great times. So if anyone wants to come down, feel free. It's open house. It'll be open from probably midday and go on till midnight. I've no doubt. Are you down this year, Stan? Are you going to have a?
Yes. I've got it in the diary, of course, and I missed last year, so I'm determined to come down this year because I just fancy taking a few more beer tokens off Joe Beneducci at Domino's.
Yeah.
With our, what is it, Joe? Our 18 set.
Have we got 8? 12. We definitely got a 12 set. We definitely got a 12 set.
No, it goes up to double 18, Joe. And at 10 pence a point, or 50, we've had 50 pence a point, haven't we, in the past? Don't let that put anybody off. You can play for your own stakes.
Yeah, exactly. And it's as long as you bring your knockers knuckle down, Stan.
Yeah.
And then we're all laughing.
Yeah.
Stan, anything else from you before we wrap it up?
No, thank you for the opportunity to talk about the league and the juniors. It's an honour to be on this award-winning show. You've done a fabulous job, you chaps. It's another string in the club bow. Long may it continue.
Yeah, thanks, Stan. We've enjoyed doing it. It gets a bit griefy at times, but we love doing it. And as long as the fans continue to enjoy it, we'll continue. Justin, final word from you before we get into deep, dark winter.
No, just looking forward to the next run of podcasts, I think, in the series. And the guests that we're going to get on. So it should be a good winter for listening to podcasts, or our podcasts, rather.
Our podcast, yeah. Brilliant. Right, everyone, thanks very much for listening.
Gordon, send Morehouse to save the house.